Before I start this video, I want to ask you to support me by subscribing to my channel. And please like this video if you find it helpful. And of course, if you have some questions or suggestions, welcome to the comments. And we jump right in.
Hi everyone! The topic of today's video will be dedicated to managing CSS and JS using Webpack Encore. And Webpack Encore is the easiest way to integrate Webpack into your Symfony application. First, let's find out what Webpack is, why and who needs it. Webpack is a module bundler. In a project, it treats all files and resources as modules. Webpack relies on a dependency graph which describes the relationship of modules using links, require and import statements. So, Webpack statically goes through all the modules to build the graph and uses it to generate one bundle. A bundle is a JS file that contains the code from all the modules in a project, combined in the correct order. When Webpack builds a dependency graph, it doesn't execute the source code, but bundles modules and their dependencies into a bundle. So, Webpack is needed first, for front-end developers who use JS and its frameworks. Second, for back-end developers for the back-end of a website or for web application built with Node.js. And third, for those programmers who use TypeScript and CoffeeScript in the front end and sometimes in the back end. As always, we start by installing the bundle. But first you need to make sure that you have installed Node.js and also one of the package managers, npm or yarn. How to check it and install Node.js and in npm you'll find in a separate video on my channel. The link to the video will now appear in the upper right corner. Since I already have both Node.js and npm installed, we'll move on to installing Webpack Encore. Okay, the installation is complete and we are moving on. After installing Encore, an assets folder appeared in your project with several files inside. Here you can see app.js file and you can think about it like a standalone JavaScript application which simply pulls up all the required dependencies. So, the main Encore's job is to read and follow all of the import statements and create one final app.js and app.css that contains everything your application needs. And also Encore can do some extra work, for example, minify files, preprocess Sass less, support React, Vue.js, and so on. In the root folder of your project, you can find a Webpack config.js file. Let's open it. It already contains the basic configuration you need. Actually, here you tell to Webpack how to behave. As you can see, there are a lot of settings. For each, there is a comment and you can explore to find out what is needed for what. But the most important setting in this config file is add entry. Here it. It tells Encore to load the app.js from the assets folder and follow all of the required statements. And because of this app argument, it will package everything together and output final app.js and app.css files into the public build directory. To build the assets, use this command. It will compile assets and automatically recompile when files change. After executing the command, we have a new folder, here it, with some files inside. For example, this file holds all the JS for your app entry. And this file holds all the CSS for your app entry. And for example, this file helps Webpack to do its job. Now we can include our final JS and CSS files using the asset function in the Twig template. It will look like this. You should not render script and link tags by hand when you use Encore with Symfony. We will use some helper function from Webpack Encore bundle. In fact, in your base template, these functions already exist after installing the Twig bundle. For the style sheets, use this function, Encore entry link tags. An app passed here because it's the name of the entry. For the scripts, uses this function, Encore entry script tags. Next, I want to work with CSS files and replace all style sheet connections via assets with a Webpack connection. Helper functions are already in the base template, so it remains to import the needed files into app.js and then remove the assets from the Twig templates. Let's do it. By the way, this dot means to look for a local file. As you can see, nothing broke on the pages. Everything looks correct. But there is one problem. We don't need to include form CSS for all pages. We only need it for the login and registration pages. Let's figure out how to apply this style only to certain pages. First, let's create form.js file. Here we import form CSS file. Now in Webpack config JS file, we'll add the next setting. Because Webpack config JS was changed, we need to stop and restart Encore. And finally, we need to include the link tag on the individual pages where we need them. And I forget to do one more thing. We need to delete import here. And let's open login page and check, works it or not. Okay, the page looks correct. Now let's open registration page. As you can see, no styles applied to this form. Behavior is expected since no styles are included on this page. Let's fix it. As you can see, my Symfony application uses Bootstrap, which is currently connected via CDN. But actually, we can install and integrate the Bootstrap CSS framework in our Symfony application using Webpack Encore. So, let's install Bootstrap. Now you can find Bootstrap module in the Not Modules folder. Here it. Now we need to rename this file to up as CSS. Please note that here in app.js you need to import also as CSS, but it was refactoring. The next thing we need to do is to open Webpack config JS and find here enable SAS loader and uncomment it. And now we need to install SAS loader with npm. But first let's restart Encore. And because of this error, we know exactly what we need to install. So let's do it. Now in the base template we need to remove link and script tags which include Bootstrap via CDN. Let's define import statement in this file. And now let's check if the pages of the site are displayed correctly. There are a lot of Bootstrap components which require the use of JS to function. For example, it could be the model component. If we try to add this component on the page, it will not work because the JS dependencies required by the Bootstrap are not installed. I'll show it. So, let's install needed dependencies. And now we need to require Bootstrap from app.js file. And what about JS? Let's try to import a JS file that will be executed on all pages of the site. For this, first I'll create a JS file that exports a function. Actually, it's called JS module, and now we need to require it in app.js. In this case, that JS extension is optional. You can type it or skip it. It doesn't matter. Webpack knows what you mean. Let's try how our code works. Also, we can use the other way how to export and import values from a JS file. I'll show it. This code will do the same as previous one. So, which approach should you use? Use this syntax. The require function came from Node, but the export and import syntax are the official way to do module loading in ECMAScript. And now let's restrict the execution of the script. I want it to be executable on one page only. In this case, we will do the same as with the form CSS file in the previous example. Okay, everything works as expected. And for today it's all. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoy this video and see you next time.